If you clicked on this video, you're probably trying to expand your capabilities and your competency with your pistol. Now, whether you compete or you're just shooting pistols for fun or for self-defense, at the end of the day, it's what we're all trying to do. Now, if we boil down our fundamental pistol shooting, it pretty much hinges on one very important thing, and that is your grip. Now, a lot of videos out there are either going to go super like ape brain and not really explain it at all and just simply say, death grip the pistol as hard as you can and rip it. And then you have videos on the other end of the spectrum that are just way too in-depth, like scientific, talking about biomechanics and how this tendon interacts with that one. And that's a little bit too much, but you need a little bit more than just grip it and rip it. So this video is going to be hopefully a healthy middle ground. Psych. I bet you guys thought I was going to do this whole video from the warmth and comfort of my studio. Instead, I've decided to come out here into the freezing cold weather with a bunch of wind to the shooting range to demonstrate this a little bit better. I think I was a little too wordy in the studio version of this video, so I'm going to go ahead and try and concise this down to basically what you need to know. I will also give the disclaimer, we are on an active shooting range, so if you hear gunfire in the background, just be aware, everything is fine. Okay, everything is great. Grip is the most important aspect of shooting your pistol. It's going to be the determining factor of if you can shoot your pistol fast or slow, accurate or not accurate, and if you're going to induce malfunctions because you have a bad grip. So I'm going to use some anecdotes and use some demonstrations to kind of show you guys how I grip and shoot my pistols. First of all, Glock 19, empty, no mag. Let's give a quick demonstration. Now, a lot of people will try and overcomplicate this, and they'll talk about body mechanics and how your tendons interact with your other tendons, and oh, this finger does this. You don't need to go that scientific in it, but it also is not as simple as just grip the pistol as hard as you can and just send it. There's a little bit more nuance to that, and this should help you kind of overcome a plateau that might be induced by some of those other decisions. So for starters, we're going to take our shooting hand and we are going to get as high of a grip into the pistol as we possibly can. I'll repeat that. As high of a grip onto the pistol as we possibly can. So you can see this curvature right here. That's where your hand goes. In fact, that's where the webbing between your thumb and your index finger goes. We want to jam this up here as high as we possibly can. If you have a gun where you're going to get slide bite from doing this or hammer bite from doing this, you can adjust it slightly, but just know that you're creating a more difficult to control gun than if you grab it nice and high. There's no space in here at all. All right, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see even lower. I don't want to see anything like this. Nice and absolutely high and tight to the gun. And finally, you know, something like this USP, you can see there's quite a bit of space between. But the real essence of what I'm trying to explain is it matters a little bit less about how far away the slide is from your hand, and it matters more about where the grip is positioned in your hand. So again, if I drop down like this gun's going to be a lot harder to control because there's space here, right? I want to be nice and high. Even though the slide is going to be way high over my hand, doesn't really matter because I'm as high as I can physically get on the gun. The next thing that I would advise is being careful of your shooting hand thumb. A lot of guns are going to have some sort of controls by this shooting thumb, and you don't want to accidentally induce some sort of malfunction or prevent the action of your gun from cycling or locking back or anything like that. I've seen a lot of people, myself included, with Glocks who get a nice high and tight grip and they're pressing down with this thumb and they end up hitting the slide stop, not the mag release, the slide stop, and the gun won't lock back whenever the last round is shot out of the mag. Not the end of the world, but still an inconvenience. I have also seen people will be pushing up and they can actually stop the slide whenever you have a perfectly full magazine, just because you're pushing up on that slide stop. So just be aware of where that thumb is at. And again, depends on the gun, right? Your fingers on the bottom should also be as high as they can get to the trigger guard. So the Glock, we just saw that with the 2011, there's a nice little cutout. I want to be nice and high right there. And with the HK USP 45, we again want to be nice and high right there, right? We want to use the grip. The makers of the gun gave you the grip to be able to control it. So use it, use all of it. With our support hand, we're going to take it and we're going to take the bottom part of my palm. I'll have it highlighted, the bottom part of my palm, and we're going to smack it straight in there, right up against the frame. Now we're going to kind of rotate our hand down so that our thumb is pointed down the barrel of the gun and grip. And that's pretty simple. Now you can do any different number of things with your support hand fingers. I typically just say like, put them between your knuckles. Normally I take my index finger right here and I'll actually kind of tuck this up under here. And that gives me enough to still shoot, but just a little bit more comfortable. And then I'll just, in the spaces between my knuckles, put the rest of my fingers. So that's very simple, nice and high. You want to be nice and high. Your support thumb should be very close to the slide. I wouldn't rest it on the slide. I've seen people who will apply inward pressure on the slide, and not only will that throw your shots off, but it's also going to, I've seen it, slow down the slide enough for it to actually short stroke the gun, and you don't want that. So you don't need to apply inward pressure with your thumbs. You just need to apply the pressure with the meat of your actual hand. Now that we've got the firing hand set up, we've got the support hand set up, how should these hands feel when they're gripping this gun for maximum recoil control? You're going to be pressing the gun between your hands. You don't have to death grip it. I wouldn't death grip it. In fact, I would advise to have a strong but subtle enough grip that you can still have dexterity of your trigger finger. Make sure that this thing can move. So make sure that you have that tight pressure from both sides, not an exorbitant amount, but enough to keep the gun in your hand, seated and not moving around. The thumb isn't really applying the pressure. The rest of your hand is. You can quite literally shoot your pistol like this with your thumbs. I'll show you, like this, with your thumbs off to the side, and completely control the recoil of the firearm because your thumbs don't really matter. The real key to managing the muzzle climb and the overall recoil control of the gun is to preload your grip. If you think about how this gun works, when you're grabbing it, you're creating a pivot point. Might not be the right nomenclature, but hear me out. So imagine that you drill a hole through this frame of this Glock, you stick a rod in it and you suspend it in midair. Then you shoot it. What's going to happen? It's going to spin around that pivot point. We just have to counteract that. That's all we have to do. No sense in talking about the biomechanics, no sense in trying to undersimplify it or oversimplify it. What we do is we preload our grip. So we want to imagine kind of rolling on to the gun, right? Because the gun is doing a circle counterclockwise. We want to do it clockwise. So we're going to roll onto the gun. And I think the best way to describe this and show this, go and grab a shovel like this, or anything with more weight at the bottom than at the top. Grab it like this, about halfway down. Put the heavy end behind you and hold it at a 90-degree angle. You're going to see that to hold this steady, you're going to feel a force in the webbing of your hand here, and you're going to feel that your pinky, your ring finger, and to a lesser extent your middle finger have to grip harder and apply more force to keep the shovel steady than your index finger and your thumb. Same exact thing should be applied to the pistol. The same way we did with the shovel. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but you get the idea. You can actually feel what you have to do. You almost have to, I wouldn't necessarily say grip harder, but you have to apply more force in the bottom of your finger to keep that gun from snapping back a ton. Everything that your shooting hand, for the most part, is doing, your support hand is also going to be doing. If you're doing this right, you'll shoot the gun, right? You'll shoot the gun with the grip, the gun will go off, and it'll drop right back down to basically the same exact position that you were at. You're not trying to drive the gun back down, you're just letting the gun shoot, and your grip is staying consistent, so the gun is coming right back down to the same spot. So it's still going to be your pinky, it's still going to be your ring finger. You're going to apply the same force with your support hand, and you're just going to pull. That's basically it. So that is how I grip a pistol in order to minimize that muzzle flip and that recoil. So go out and try it. Let us know how it works down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video. And remember, stay armed.